Let's talk about it. Before I went off grid, I had no idea what off grid living or homesteading was. I've always had the vision of buying land though. I've always wanted to raise some animals and grow me something. Just though back when I stayed in the hood, we wasn't talking about vegetables. I feel like the hood kind of prepped me a little bit for homesteading and off grid living. Like shit. I remember back in the days, I would have to hand wash my clothes in the sink and hang them on the line. And when the hurricanes hit, we didn't have generators to restore the power. We had to light candles. And if something went wrong in the house, shit, you had to play the handyman to keep the household running smoothly. Those was like Jolly Rancher days. Shit was hard but sweet. And that's kind of like homesteading or living off the grid. It's a lot of hard work, but it's a sweet reward. If you're thinking about going off grid or buying land to homestead on, I encourage you to get active now. People will find a lot of reasons on why they can't afford or can't purchase land right now. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Focus on the journey. Don't worry about the money. It will all come together. When I first started doing my research and looking for land to buy, I didn't know about homesteading. So there was no research for me to do on off-grid living or homesteading. I immediately went straight to buying land. I started with land for sale in Florida. Being from Florida, of course, that would be the first place that I would look. And the first thing that I would notice is that it was expensive as hell. Just like the rent, the land prices was up as well. But moving to another state wasn't a problem. This is where my research would take a turn. I was ready to leave Florida anyways. To things you should consider before buying land. I'm going to say that again, just in case y'all missed it. Things you should consider before buying land. This is where I would run into a list of things, from property taxes to utilities, location, easements, etc. All of these things need to be researched. Some of these things you might not know about, or might have just a little bit of knowledge about them. You want to research everything. When I started doing this, one thing would lead to another. For example, an easement means a right of passage through or from one's land. Me personally, I did not want to have to travel through a neighbor's property, nor did I want a neighbor traveling through my property to get to theirs. But that's just me though. Everyone is different and everybody has their own preferences. To you, an easement might not be that big of a deal. But as you get deeper into the research, you find things like zoning. Zoning tells you a lot about the land and how it can be used. Every time I would research one thing, it would make me think of another. I would have another question to ask. To find out that this was actually a thing and possible, oh man, it struck something in my spirit. Instantly, I got butterflies in my stomach and felt like I was a pioneer. I can do that. I know I could do it. It took me 3 months of research. Every day, every chance I got, I grabbed my pen and notebook. The hardest part was deciding on a state. This is why I always recommend that you start with the states. There's a lot of information that you need to gather when it comes to the off-grid lifestyle. But first, you need to decide on a state, because there are a lot of laws and regulations that you will have to research about that state and its counties. There was one state that kept sticking out to me, a state that I really wasn't even considering. That was Tennessee. Tennessee turned out to be the state that I would decide on moving to. In my opinion, Tennessee is a great state for homesteading and off-grid living. It promotes the lifestyle and it actually encourages it. Other southern states that I recommend are Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, and West Virginia. Once I finally decided to give Tennessee a try and start researching their laws and things regarding off-grid living, after finding about 11 properties and contacting realtors for almost a week, I decided that I needed to make a trip to Tennessee to walk some of these properties, because there was no way that I was going to buy land without actually seeing it. I was totally sold. Once I got in Tennessee, I contacted the realtors so that I could set up something with the property. Being that I never bought land before, I thought it was going to be something like the realtor meet us out there and walk us around the property, show us everything. But that wasn't the case. They was just like, yeah, go out there and check out the property. Let us know what you think. Paradise is what I call my land. It was the first land that I went to visit. The first visit didn't last long because we couldn't walk the land due to the overgrown trees and grass. There was really no access. We had to pull the truck up on the side of the road and walk in. After leaving here, we went to other properties, but none of them really took me the way that Paradise did. Something about that land just kept it on my mind, and I wanted to go back to walk the land to see more. The next day I returned. Long pants, long sleeve shirts. I'm ready. After locating a natural running spring on the property, I knew that this was the one. I ain't want to go see no more properties. This the one I want. I immediately contact the realtor. This the one that I want to go with. He tells me that he will get in contact with the owners and get back with me. But there was no waiting on my behalf. I immediately went to doing land and property searches to find out who the owners were and how could I contact them. I ended up reaching out over Facebook, and this is where the negotiation started. My advice when buying land is always be ready to negotiate. The price that they was asking for the land, I initially offered them less than half. Of course, they denied it, claiming that they had another buyer offering higher than my offer. So I went a little bit higher to $16,000. They accepted. She said that she would contact the realtor and set up a date for us to meet. That was fine with me. But once again, I wasn't waiting. When I came to Tennessee, I gave myself 1 week to buy the land, so that I knew that I was on borrowed time. I had to return back home. I contacted the realtor again and told him that the owner said that they would accept my offer, and if there was any way that we could meet up. Initially, this was not an owner finance deal. This was a cash deal. They wanted everything paid in full. But you know how they say, closed mouths don't get fed. I asked the owners if they would consider taking $4,000 down and me paying the rest off over a 4-year period of time. They agreed. The realtor contacted me and told me that he would have his secretary draw up the paperwork and that we could meet that Thursday. By doing my due diligence, I knew what I wanted in a land contract. I wanted to be able to move on the land immediately, even while owner financing. I wanted all rights to the property, and I didn't want any early payment penalties, meaning if I pay off the land early, I don't have to pay any interest on it. We met, we talked, we laughed, we joked. I left out of there a landowner. One thing I wish that I would have did different, that the realtor told me and advised me against, and that was putting my fiance's name on the land at the time. He said, if you guys split up, this would be a mess. At the time, though, I was assuming we would never split up. We had been together 13 years and things were only getting better. But that would change. And is also a story for another day. I finalized everything on June 26th. By July 4th, I had came back from Florida with my mom and entire family and started clearing my land. We bought a cabin tent, AC unit, generator, and a hell of a lot of tools. Many of the tools that I would realize that I was just wasting money and didn't actually need. Things were real rough at first. The spring hadn't been developed yet, and there was no way to get water uphill to where we were staying, so I would have to haul it in 5-gallon buckets. The ticks was outrageous. They were everywhere. They bit me so much my first year that it looked like someone had put a bunch of BBs in a shotgun and shot me with it. Those ticks would change my perspective on underwear. I used to love to wear boxers. Yeah, we had to change to boxer briefs because if it wasn't tight on your leg, they would crawl right up your pants, right into your underwear. Now you have a tick on your dick. The first 2 years were extremely hard to adapt to. I wasn't used to working in the fields in the hot sun so much, so that made me feel almost like I was going to pass out or die. As time went, I kept pushing through and this became better. But then the winter would come, and everyone told me that it wouldn't snow here in Tennessee, but just as I thought, a snowstorm came. This would drive us into the city to live the winter. Leaving some of our valuables out here during the winter would cause them to get ruined because the tent collapsed from the heavy snowfall. I caught frostbite from being stuck in the snow and trying to push the truck out. This would leave my hands and feet hurting for almost 2 weeks and peeling like a lizard. When the spring came and I decided to return to the land, I found out that I had become lazy again. And I would find myself repeating the cycle the second year. When the winter came, we ran to the city. If there was a rainstorm, we ran to the city. If it was too hot one day, we ran to the city. Mostly doing it for the comfort of my family. I began to become homesick. Paradise was now my home. That's where I wanted to be. If I wasn't developing the land, it was almost like I was sad and out of place. I had to make a decision that I would move out on the land full time, no matter what. My thought process at the time was, how did the Indians live out there in tents and stuff? If they could do it, I could do it, right? I think this is where I would really become a bushman. But the struggle wasn't over. My mom came down with Alzheimer's, and I would then again have to leave and go stay with her. Once she went back to Florida, I thought that this was my time to shine. No more excuses. No more reasons for me to try to run to the city. Only did I know though, the problems wasn't over. This is when I would start to experience major problems within the relationship. But at this point, there was no more bending or breaking. I had to stay focused on the journey. I couldn't let anything disturb me anymore. Like King George say, this thing had to keep on rolling. Sometimes I think like I haven't accomplished enough, but I also remind myself that this isn't an easy task and try to appreciate the moment that I'm at right now. In June of 2024, I finished paying off my land and received my deed. Buying land is one of the greatest accomplishments I've ever made. A decision that I wish I would have made years ago. If you ain't got you no land by now, you should go get you some. It's your boy Jay Steady, the realest homesteader you know. If you like my video, please comment, subscribe, and share.